claims, because that's how they got to be billion-dollar insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is call 38723.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Working towards the weekend. It's a football weekend. College football week one is here. There will be action tonight. We're talking a little of that, a little LSU USC. Saints making some news as well. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and fired up that y'all are here with us for the next 2 hours. We will hear from Luke Johnson coming up at straight up 2 o'clock. Usually Luke with us at 1:15. There are some Saints media obligations right now that Luke's taking care of. He'll chat with us at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair going to join us at 2:15 to talk about the impending trip to Las Vegas. Jay Johnson met with the media. I am going to sneak that in here in hour number one as well. We'll talk about that at 1:30. And there's some sound that I got yesterday from Harold Perkins or Tuesday from Harold Perkins and Greg Penn that we will get to at some point as well. At this point, I think you can just about taste it. Like, it's just about here. A lot of folks heading to Las Vegas today or tomorrow. A lot of folks kind of checking out on their work responsibilities as football season approaches. A lot of folks going to get into the fridge for a cold pop tonight and watch a little college football. It's here. We're here. You got Jimmy and Charlie in Vegas. Matt's going to do a little bit of work from the airport on AFR this afternoon, and then fly up there. You'll have OTB from Vegas tomorrow morning. So we have made it. We are here. It's LSU and USC, and we are certainly ready to talk about that. I want to get into this Southern Cal offense a little bit today as we start things here. Lincoln Riley has a reputation in college football. And I think if you were to ask 10 college football fans about Lincoln Riley, they would all give you some variation of the same answer. Been a head coach at 2 big-time programs, score a lot of points, win a lot of Heisman trophies, defenses aren't very good, hasn't won the big game. That's kind of what Lincoln Riley's MO is. And it's probably fair because we've got a pretty large sample size here. It's not something that's been boiled down to like 2 years. We've seen Lincoln Riley in action now for about a decade on the big stage in college football as a coordinator or a head coach. But I wanted to go a little bit more in depth into what Lincoln Riley is, because as I've told you a lot, like, I don't spend a lot of time watching non-SEC games. I just don't have a lot of time to do it on my Saturdays. I've got to prep, and then I've got to get to campus, and then I've got to do a 2-hour pregame show, and then LSU plays for 4 hours, and then I've got to do an hour and a half postgame show. And so for that time of 7 or 8 hours, it's hard for me to watch other games. So when I do, I'm watching Alabama Ole Miss. I'm watching Auburn, Georgia. I'm watching Florida, Tennessee. I'm not usually watching Oklahoma, Iowa State, or USC against Colorado. Like, I don't do a lot of that. So to sit here and tell you that I've watched a ton of Lincoln Riley offense would not be true. But I have done a lot of research over the last week. And Lincoln Riley has the best offensive body of work in college football collectively in the last 10 years. He does. You're talking about a guy who became the offensive coordinator at East Carolina as a very, very young coach. And he set more than 50 school records at East Carolina. They were in the top 10 nationally in scoring offense, in passing yardage, in third down efficiency. They were great on offense at East Carolina. So Bob Stoops called and said, hey, I need you to come up to Oklahoma. And when I think of Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, I think of Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. I think of the air raid. I think of them scoring a ton of points. I think of those 2 Heisman trophies. I think of that Rose Bowl against Georgia. And obviously, I think of Jalen Hurts in the end there with LSU in 2019, where their defense couldn't stop anybody at all. But Lincoln Riley's offenses were a little bit more than just Kyler Murray and just Baker Mayfield and just Jalen Hurts and just the air raid. Far from it. I mean, Joe Mixon set an Oklahoma all-purpose yardage record under Lincoln Riley. Samaje Perine became Oklahoma's career rushing leader under Lincoln Riley. Now, I get it. There are a lot of you that are listening to me. They're going, I don't care if Oklahoma can run the ball against Kansas and Baylor. That's not real football, and that's fine. Like, I'm not going to fight that. I would not stand here and tell you that I think the Big 12 is putting out 85 Bears-style defenses. But it does tell me that, like, he does want to run the ball. He does want a modicum of balance. And Brian Kelly talked on Monday about making USC one-dimensional. How do we make them one-dimensional? And there were a couple teams that were kind of able to do that last year to an extent, and they were the two teams that held USC to season-low point totals. That was 20 points 2 times. It was against Notre Dame, and it was against UCLA. And against Notre Dame, when you look at the rushing numbers, they ran for over 120 yards in that game, and that looks fine, but it took them a ton of carries to get to it. The rushing yardage, when it was all said and done, per carry was under 3 yards per carry against Notre Dame. That's stopping the run. And UCLA absolutely swallowed USC's running game whole. They had 22 carries in that game for 3 yards. 3 yards. So there were two teams that were able to shut down the run and make things one-dimensional in the pass, and they were able to slow things down against USC. That's goal number one. But we know that USC's not going to hand the ball to Woody Marks 26 times in this game. Woody Marks was a Mike Leach back at Mississippi State who was better in the passing game anyway. It's the passing game that is the scariest threat that USC has. And I'll be candid with you. Like, y'all know I made some waves yesterday on my show. And but look, I feel okay about LSU up front on defense. I feel good about the linebackers. I feel okay about the front. I feel great about the offensive line. I feel great about the running backs. I feel good about the wide receivers. And I feel good about Garrett Nussmeier. There's really only one piece to this team that still gives me the heebie-jeebies. And y'all know that's the corners. I'm just a little concerned. I am. I don't see Patrick Peterson. Duh. I don't see Morris Claiborne. I don't see Tre'Davious White. I don't see Derek Stingley. I don't see Christian Fulton. I don't see Jalen Mills. I don't see Thorold Simon. Like, I see some guys that are at best unproven, at worst have been part of some really bad defenses. So I'm concerned about that, and I'll be honest about it. But I wanted to look at USC's receivers and kind of see what that group looked like. And I came up with an LSU comp for these guys to kind of help you, because I know you as the LSU fan, if I run down and I say, Zachariah Brands, Deuce Robinson, Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon, and Kyrian Hudson, you go, well, I never heard of any of those people. Who cares? And so I don't want to do that. I'm going to give you a comp for these guys and just kind of give you an idea of what these guys look like in pads. Now, keep in mind, this group is not a proven group that's coming back. This has not been a group that's been productive. USC lost 4 of their top 6 pass catchers from last year. Those guys are gone. All I'm looking at in terms of these guys is potential, because they don't have a lot of proven on-the-field statistics and highlights to go from. Some, but not a ton. These were not the primary guys last year for Caleb Williams. They will be for Miller Moss. Number 1 on the list, absolutely number 1 on the list, is Zachariah Branch. 100%. He's 5'10", 175 pounds. You heard yesterday we had Mark Culkin on. He called him a human joystick. And I watched some highlights from Zachariah Branch from last year. The LSU comp that immediately leapt off the screen for me was Skylar Green. He's undersized at 5'10", but he is incredibly smooth and shifty. Y'all remember Skylar. Some of y'all that are real young may not. But if you remember Skylar, he was a little undersized. He was the number 3 wide receiver on the 03 team. You had Michael Clayton. You had Devery Henderson. And they got Skylar Green the ball in the screen game. He scored a touchdown on the jet sweep in the national championship game, and he was a great punt returner. As good a punt returner as I've ever seen at LSU. And that's what Zachariah Branch reminds me of. He's so shifty and smooth and slippery. They get him the ball around the line of scrimmage a lot. He runs back kicks and punts. You got to watch this guy. I mean, he's going to be a factor in the game. Deuce Robinson is a sophomore, and he's listed as a wide receiver by USC. If you look at like Phil Steele's preview that I've got here, if you look at his recruiting profile, he's listed as a tight end. because he's massive. He's 6'6", 215 pounds. He was the number 1 tight end of the country in the 2023 class. And I know that none of you have seen this player, but you all know who I'm talking about. He does remind me a little bit of Tre'Davious Green. He's just huge. I don't know if he runs quite as well. I don't know if he jumps quite as well. But I can't think of an LSU wide receiver that pops right to my mind that was 6'6", 215. Like, Stephon Sullivan was pretty big, but he wasn't the number 1 player in the nation coming out of high school at his position like Deuce Robinson is. This dude's legit. He's a big, big target for USC for sure. They got Jacoby Lane, who's another sophomore. All these guys are sophomores. Zachariah Branch is a sophomore. Deuce Robinson's a sophomore. Jacoby Lane's a sophomore. He's 6'4", 195, and has this crazy vertical leap that everybody's talked about that I've read up on. He kind of reminds me frame-wise of Malachi Dupree. Pretty big, pretty long, a little bit skinny, but he's got some highlights on the reel where he goes up and makes catches in the end zone above people. And that's kind of what you're looking for there. The only real veteran that I see on this receiving core is Kurian Hudson, who he's a junior. Maybe it's because he wears number 10, and Jeray Jenkins' name just kind of popped in my name because the 10 was there. But he's 6'1", and he doesn't run super awesome, and he wasn't a 100-star recruit, and he hasn't been wildly productive in 3 years. But they threw him the ball a few times, and he made some plays, and that's kind of what Jeray Jenkins is for a really long time here in Baton Rouge. So that's those are high-end comps. I know I'm not going to compare anybody to Kadron Boone and James Wright and like I said, Stephon. So I'm not going to compare guys to LSU's 4th-team wide receivers who didn't play very much. I'm talking about the high end of these guys' potential. That's what they look like in Pat. So it's a balanced receiving core that Lincoln Riley's got. And candidly, I'm a little concerned about LSU's ability to cover, and we all have seen that. But you've got to, if you're being on the optimistic side, which I'm going to try to be for the next 48 hours, then you look at what LSU's defense did against the Tiger offense, a lot of camp in the 11-on-11s, and you hold out hope that this defense is going to create enough issues at the point of attack, is going to get back there against a young, I shouldn't say young, probably inexperienced is a better word for Miller Moss, quarterback, and you can cover some of these guys who are not necessarily proven stud receivers. They've got a lot of stars by their name in high school, and they're sophomores that are expected to show up and be great players this year. That's their Deshaun Womack for LSU in a different position. But that's kind of what it looks like, and I expect USC most of the night to spread the field and to try to get it to these guys a lot of times around the line of scrimmage, especially Zachariah Branch, but sometimes down the field wherever Lincoln Riley sees it fit to try to take a chance. And he's gained enough credibility over the course of this decade to understand that the players change, but the results generally stay the same. I mean, you're talking about in points per game, Lincoln Riley, I'll just go backwards from 2023 moving backwards. They were 3rd in the country last year at 41.8 points per game. They were 3rd the year before that at 41.4, so about the exact same, the 2 Caleb Williams years out in Southern California. The last year at Oklahoma, where he had Rattler and Caleb Williams, they were 8th in the country in scoring offense at 39.1 points per game. Go back to 2020, 6th in the country, 43 PPGs. 2019, that was the Jalen Hurts team that LSU played. They were 6th in the country in points per game. They scored 42 a game. The year before that, they were best in the country, number 1 in the nation in 2018. That was the year Kyler Murray was the quarterback. They scored 48 points per game and topped the country. And then in 2017, 3rd. So if I go back in chronological order about the offenses in terms of scoring that he's put out there, 3rd, 8th, 6th, 1st, 3rd. That's really, really good. And I feel like as I sit here today and we're starting to talk about this game, LSU's offense is going to have to go score. Because no matter how good you feel about LSU's revamped defense with a new coaching staff and guys in different roles and a little bit of a talent influx and some guys growing up and the aggressive nature of things, no matter how good you feel about that, looking at those statistics, not over 1 year, not over one game, not over one matchup last year, this is a total of 7 years I just combed through at 2 different schools with 5 different quarterbacks, and every single year, Lincoln Riley's offenses are in the top 8 in the country. Every year. So to sit here and suggest that, I think the defense is going to be really good, they might be able to hold them to 20 points. I don't see it. I think LSU can win the game. Still weighing my pick for tomorrow. I absolutely think LSU can win the game. But it's going to take 35 points to do it, in my eye. We'll talk more about this team as we move through the next 24 hours, or so, I guess 26 hours. We'll be done talking about the game on these airwaves. But it's a really good offense. I'm hopeful that LSU's defense is there to answer the bell. And that will transition nicely into our next segment, because I talked to Harold Perkins on Tuesday. I talked to Greg Penn on Tuesday, and they kind of discussed some of the different things that they've been working on and some of the different things that they've implemented. Harold Perkins was really timid in answering the questions because he didn't want to reveal anything. He's like, look, they're listening. I can't tell y'all any of this stuff. But we did get enough out of them about some of the things that they're trying to accomplish on defense, and it piqued my interest. I've got a site up, a piece up on LouisianaSports.net on it, but we'll talk about it all coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, I tell you this story probably once a week. Back in when I bought this house that we lived in initially, Alyssa and I, closet situation was not great. We loved the house, didn't like the closets. We decided to move. When we moved, thought we're going to go ahead and make sure that we have good closet situation in this new house. And we took that into account. And we moved, and we've got really good closet situation in this home. And it's made all the difference in the world to my wife. I didn't really care that much. She does a lot. If you're in my boots, maybe the person that you're married to has a little bit more interest in what the closet situation looks like, call David Duvall and the team at One Bath and Closets and customize a closet to your specifications. They can do it one of two ways. They can do a brand new closet. They're a licensed contractor. They can go ahead and redo the entirety of the situation. Or maybe you've got enough space, you just don't know how to use it properly, or don't have the proper situation set up for you. David Duvall and his team can come in and do that with some shelves and cubbies, mirrors, drawers, all types of things. It's going to look great, and it's going to be customized to your exact specifications. So if that's your situation, you think a new closet could be the right move for you, go to onebathandclosets.com, request that free consultation, tell David Duvall and his team that the Hunt Palmer Show sent you there. You can get $1,000 off of your deal. It's One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Back to school savings at Bayou Ford. $12,000 off F-150. $12,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And $10,000 off Expedition. All new Bayou Ford vehicles.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Back in action here on a Tuesday edition. That's not even close. It's Thursday, very much Thursday. That's why we're presented by Rouse's Markets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. We'll talk with Luke Johnson about the Saints coming up in 40 minutes from right now. I want to talk about the LSU defense and what their goals are coming up on Sunday against this SC offense. And it's very clear from talking to Greg Penn and Harold Perkins that there's a package that they're really trying to get to here throughout the course of a game. And that package is called the Prowler package. Now, our system's not working perfectly here, so instead of playing the sound through the actual system, I'm going to hold my phone up where I took the audio and play this Greg Penn piece talking about the Prowler defense being very, very important to what they're trying to do on defense.
It's really important in our defense. Cool Bigger, he calls the Prowler front his baby. That's what he calls it. Yeah, so I mean, he creates a lot of different mismatches and things like that. So it's really good in what we do as a defense. So, but we can't get to the Prowler front. We don't handle things on first and second down and get them in third and long. So I think that everything just comes together with everyone doing their job.
So what they're trying to do is get to this pass rush front. And that pass rush front is going to be Deshaun Womack and Braden Swinson on the outsides. Harold Perkins is going to be involved there. They're going to kick Paris Shand down inside the defensive tackle from end. And they're going to allow those guys to rush the passer full bore. And it gets deceptive. And there are different wrinkles you can do from it. And I've got sound, but I'm actually just going to read the quote because I've got it here. Harold Perkins, really, you could see him light up when he talked about the Prowler front on Tuesday. He was asked about it, and he kind of looked up and he goes, Coach Baker gets freaky with that. You never know where the person can come from. It may look the same, but it's going to be different every time. Whatever he calls, I just go out there and execute. And that's Perkins talking about his role in this Prowler front. But just as you just heard from Greg Penn, they can't use this if they never get to third down, and they can't use it on 3rd and 2. They can only use this in 3rd and distance, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 11. You've got to force a holding call early on. You've got to get a tackle for loss early on. Got to shoot a gap and hit a run in the backfield early on to get to this. You heard Penn just say, like, Blake Baker calls it his baby. And that means he feels like this is their bread and butter. This is their weapon. And I don't disagree with that at all. If you tell me they've got a front seven that involves Braden Swinson, who was probably their best pass rusher from the front last year, that involves Deshaun Womack, who's got 5-star talent on another end, that's got a converted defensive end in Paris Shand playing inside at the tackle spot, that's got Harold Perkins moving around and probably has Whit Weeks moving around as well. You've got really athletic people who are able to be disguised and can be a one-on-one nightmare for whatever offensive lineman has to deal with them in that spot. This is something I can get on board with LSU's defense. This is something that sounds very, very attractive. Like, I have to work to get excited about the secondary. You just heard me say that. I don't have to work to get excited about this. If they can get into the proper situations against Southern Cal or against Ole Miss or against Alabama or against Oklahoma or whoever it is, and they can get into these down and distance situations and deploy that, which they've clearly been working on, which they clearly prioritize and which I believe they clearly have the personnel to run, all of a sudden your defense can become very, very impactful. That's not hard to hypothesize. The problem is getting there. Can you stop the run? Can you make sure that they don't complete an easy pitch and catch for 9 yards on first down? These are things they could not do last year. Everything seemed so easy. Run it ahead of the chains, 2nd and 4. Easy pitch and catch, first down. 1st and 10, easy pitch and catch, 2nd and 2. You'll never get into any sort of success or any sort of rhythm defensively like that. But for those that are, saying, well, they better use Harold Perkins properly, what's the role going to be? Well, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you he's probably not going to be very effective on 2nd and 2. But they certainly have told us they have a plan if they can get to 3rd and 7. That much is evident. Just takes a quick player interview session to pull that out. So when you're watching the game on Sunday and you look up and there's a substitution there and you see potentially Greg Penn come off the field and you see Jacoby and Guillory come off the field, and Gio Pius did place him in, so he could theoretically play in this set as well on the interior. But, you're going to see some guys in there that are purely in there to rush the passer. And that's an advantageous situation for really any defense. But for LSU, this makes a ton of sense. Just a matter of trying to get ahead and win on first downs. And I was really refreshed by talking to Greg Penn for the first time. He's been here for 4 years. I've never spoken to him. But I'm going to player interviews now to do some writing for LouisianaSports.net. And I got a chance to speak with him. He's a really good interview, very thoughtful, very eloquent. And he and Harold Perkins both kind of perked up when you talk about the Prowler package. And I think it may have been Koki Riley, it may have been Zach, I can't remember now, who kind of pressed Perkins on. So there may be sometimes you're blitzing, maybe sometimes you're dropping, and Perkins kind of looked and goes, I'm not going to tell you that. You're just going to have to watch on Sunday. But he did use the word freaky, which I very much enjoyed. Blake Baker get a little freaky on 3rd downs with the Prowler package. I'm in for it. That is something I'll absolutely be looking for, and quite frankly, could be a game-changing setup for LSU. We just never saw LSU in a position to attack last year. Like, the only time I ever really felt like LSU was attacking last year was like the second half of the A&M game. And even that wasn't a dominant effort, but you had a 3rd-string quarterback out there, and I felt like they did kind of move downhill a little bit, but really no other time did I feel like LSU was attacking. They may not get a stop every time against USC. In fact, they won't. But it should look at times like they're attacking. And this will certainly be one of those operations that is designed to attack. We'll see if LSU can get into it. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. If you're doing a game watch party this weekend, I cannot recommend Rouse's enough. They've got everything you could possibly need. If you got a ton of people there, they got your sandwich trays and you got your cookie cake trays and your cupcake trays. They've got your fruit trays. They've certainly got all the drinks that you will possibly need over there at Rouse's. And if you're doing steaks for the game, that was a big deal at my house for some big games growing up. Got steaks. They got great steaks over at Rouse's. And the one on Burbank and Lee, you go right back to that butcher shop in the back. They've got your ribeyes. They got fillets as well. They got your New York strips. You're looking for something a little bit leaner. That's okay. They got your grilled chicken breasts as well back there at Rouse's. So get on by. If you're here all the way to Orange Beach, Alabama, and a little bit west, out to West Louisiana as well, you can always find a Rouse's near you. Go on by and do your game weekend shopping this afternoon. If you don't have time to go in and shop, doesn't matter. You can download the Rouse's app, and they can do your shopping for you. Just pick it up right there, curbside, and head on your way. All right, when we come back, let's see. What are we going to talk about? Jay Johnson met with the media. I got a few things that I want to sprinkle in there. We'll get to Luke Johnson and Chris Blair talking football in hour number 2. You're listening to a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. It's time for football now. If you've got a pretty pedestrian way to watch the game at your home, a TV that's sitting on the floor with no surround sound, I pity you, because you don't have to have that. You can have Audio Video Security Solutions come in and trick your whole place out to be the place to come watch the game. It's fantastic stuff, and it's very, very, very easy. Mitchell Fisher and his team are a locally owned company. They have fantastic customer service. Just this year, they were the best vendor at the Parade of Homes here in Baton Rouge. If you're looking to upgrade your home viewing experience, there's one call you got to make. There's one visit you got to take. It's to the website, avssla.com. It's audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Lots of good content up at LouisianaSports.net today. Charles Hannegriff got a column up on the front page called Charming Third. It talks about coaches in their third year at LSU and what Brian Kelly's got in store for us this fall. Charlie's going to be writing a column for us every single week, so excited to add that to the site. I know there's a ton of fans that have listened to Charlie over the decades here in Baton Rouge. If you want to read some of his content, you can do it at LouisianaSports.net. I've got a piece up talking about LSU's defense, getting ready for the challenge that USC's offense will present. Got some analysis of the Saints trade for John Ridgway yesterday. Saints also just added Austin Deculus of LSU to the practice squad, so that piece will be going up here shortly on LouisianaSports.net. Always completely free to read. Jay Johnson met with the media yesterday. We'll do this pretty briefly. There are 3 things that I wanted to hit on here over his 45 minutes with the assembled media. We'll get back to football here, including opening night in college football week 1. Later on in this hour, and then we'll talk with Luke Johnson about the Saints and Chris Blair on LSU a little bit later. But Jay Johnson updated the injury status of 2 guys who were very, very highly thought of when they came in 2 years ago, but really haven't given LSU much of anything on the mound. And that is, of course, Chase Shores, who missed all of last season, and Jaden Newt, who's only made one appearance here at LSU. Jay Johnson updated those two guys and their status entering the fall semester.
They're doing great. Jaden had a good summer in the Cape Cod League, and the goal was to get out and pitch. And I believe he had 9 appearances and was able to recover and pitch again, get some of the learning or experience underneath his belt that he has not been able to get. He probably got hurt at the worst time possible, which was right before his freshman season, and it essentially kind of canceled out, 2 seasons, even though we tried to get him back last year. So he really needed that experience, and I think that was really, really positive. He's done a great job with his body. He looks as athletic as he's ever been, lost 15 pounds. I think it will help him move better and help him, stay healthy. Chase, doing great. His progression, he was hurt maybe a couple months after that, right in the middle of that year. But we got him up facing hitters up to, I would probably say mid-July, and then felt very good about where he was at, and then making sense of what we want to do for the year, and going into the year, stopped him for a little bit, got him restarted. Both of them will pitch fully with no limitations once we get to fall baseball, and then have a good ramp into the season.
That's awesome to hear for both, because both of those guys were brought here to be weekend starters. And I think there's a lot of people that think Chase Shores could be the Friday night guy this year. I'm not going to rule that out, certainly. I think he's 6'8" and throws 100 miles an hour, so that's possible. But I'm excited about his talent and kind of molding into a pitching staff. And if it's at the front end, that's fantastic. If it's at the back end, that's fantastic too. Wherever he can help, he's really, really good. And Jaden Newt's kind of been a forgotten man, because he came in and he immediately got hurt and never pitched. And he went out there and pitched for one appearance this past year, and they shut him down. And seems like he had a productive summer in terms of innings. Don't know what the statistics say, because Cape Cod does a pretty bad job of making sure those statistics are easy to find. But he's a big-time talent. It sounds like he's lost some weight. He was a guy in high school that was into the mid-90s, and they're just trying to assemble as many talented pitchers as they possibly can, and then you kind of cobble it together and figure out what you got as you start the season. So those two big-time right-handers who haven't helped a lot in 2 years are thought to be big-time contributors to this team in 2025. I think when I look at the diamond for LSU, I look at one position that has me a little more concerned than any other, and no, it's not third base, which is what a lot of people would say. It's actually catcher. You lose Alex Milazzo and Hayden Travinsky and Brady Neal. They're all moving on. And so you look at the depth chart and you're like, well, I don't really know what they've got. And you did get Cade Arambidi through the high school ranks, and you did get Blaze Priester to come back to LSU after he was here for Jay Johnson's first year. And you've got some guys on the roster, but it's not the guys I thought he would mention. I thought he would mention Jared Jones and Ethan Fry. He did not. He actually mentioned a couple of transfers that have come in that haven't done a lot of catching in college, but this is the kind of group that he's looking to pick from as far as the catchers go.
Yeah, again, they've had 2 days of just receiving some pitches from some pitchers and flat grounds and the beginning of their throwing program. I think the first thing that will stand out is attitude. That position is to be a servant of the pitcher. And if you go to a major league game and you talk to major league pitchers, there's guys that they like to throw to because they know the catcher is invested in their success. And right now, that's kind of my first charge with those guys is like, can you be the person these guys want to throw to? Because you help them be better, you help them execute. They know that you're there for them and really no other reason. And so I was not here Monday because I went to the game, but I got some really good feedback from pitchers on the staff, and I got some really good feedback from the coaches just in terms of how those guys were communicating, operating in that manner. And so other than that, we got a lot of work to do.
So it's Cade Arambidi, it's obviously Blaze Priester, and then you've got Eddie Yaman, who they got in from Dayton, who's kind of played everywhere for Dayton. And you got Luis Hernandez, who did not catch for Indiana State. He actually played a lot of first base and designated hitter for them and hit 23 home runs. But they had a really good defensive catcher, I'm told. That's what Jay Johnson said. And so those are the 4 guys they're going to lean on as far as catching goes. Now, we understand that in fall baseball, you've got an opportunity to practice. You've got an opportunity to play 2 scrimmages against other teams, and then you've got your World Series. LSU has announced what they're going to do as far as those scrimmages with other teams. They're not going to do any of it in Baton Rouge. They got one cool trip coming up, and they're going to head down I-10 for another trip. And Jay Johnson talked about the plans of getting out and scrimmaging a little bit in the fall.
So as I mentioned, October 10, we'll start our 20-hour weeks. It's a Thursday. We'll run that to the weekend right before Thanksgiving. The Purple Gold World Series will be that weekend. So I think it's the Vanderbilt football game weekend. That'll be our alumni baseball, homecoming, if you will, weekend. I think November 3rd, we're going to play Samford in Biloxi, Mississippi at the Pro Park there. Really looking forward to that. They always have a really good team. And then November 10, the next Sunday, we'll play Louisiana Lafayette at Louisiana Lafayette. I always like playing Coach Deggs because they do a bunch of stuff, incredibly disruptive, that challenges you, exposes you a little bit, and puts you in a better position if you play one of those teams in the spring, which we did with Wofford in the NCAA tournament. And I thought we handled the baseball very well to make sure we won both of those games. So we'll probably play them. I want to go down there. I want to get on the road with this team, and I want to do it at, maybe difficult times, like the Sunday after the Alabama football game on a Saturday. So
that's just a savage move by Jay Johnson. Savage move. You got I guarantee you, Jay Johnson said during recruiting some of these high school guys and some of these portal guys, hey, you can come experience Saturday night in Death Valley while you're in college. It's an incredible experience. Fantastic. And then he goes and schedules a scrimmage an hour and a half down the road the day after LSU plays Alabama. So any thought these guys had of knocking a few back in the student section, tailgating, going to a party after the game, especially if LSU wins, that's kind of out the window because you got to get on a bus and go to Lafayette the next day and go play a baseball game against Louisiana Lafayette. No, by the way, it's not like you got to go out there for 9 innings. They usually play like 18 or 20 innings in these things. So that's a savage play by Jay Johnson to tell a bunch of 18 to 22-year-old college students that, hey, I realize like the biggest party on campus all year is when LSU plays Alabama, and you can go to that if you want, but you better be ready to play baseball about 14 hours after that goes final. That's a diabolical move by Jay Johnson. However, I think it's really cool. They're going to go to Biloxi. I feel like there are some LSU fans that might want to make that trip over there, not just to watch a baseball scrimmage, but there's some pretty fun things to do in Biloxi. The baseball stadium's great, but the Beau Rivage is right there. There's good golf there as well. So like that's and there's some really good fans, LSU fans along the Gulf Coast Biloxi might be closer than Baton Rouge. So that's a cool thing they're doing to play Samford. I think it's cool that they're going to go play Louisiana Lafayette as well. I know a lot of fans look forward to a scrimmage in the box in the fall, but they're going to go take those on the road. So not a ton of baseball, but I wanted to get to a couple of things where we dive right on back into football here to close out hour number 1. When we come back, I've got best win, worst loss on the board in the Southeastern Conference. A couple of SEC teams start their seasons this evening, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And we'll get you ready for hour number 2 when Luke Johnson and Chris Blair will come on to talk a little bit more football. So don't go anywhere. It's a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Give yourself the peace of mind to know that the power is not going to go out in your home or at your office. If you're a commercial property owner and you haven't given a ton of thought to some power outages that may really cut down on productivity, call Boudreaux's Electrical. They are very, very comfortable handling commercial workloads. They can come out, assess your needs, understand what kind of square footage you have, what you need powered up in the event of an outage, and they can get you in as many Generac generators as you need to make sure that you stay up and running when that storm comes through. Y'all know we have these afternoon storms that can get kind of nasty in the summertime. Y'all know we have hurricanes that generally come by this time of year. And y'all know this year we had an ice storm that knocked out power throughout a lot of South Louisiana. So get yourself a generator and make sure that doesn't happen at your home. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years down in the 985. Check them out online. I'll tell you the phone numbers, but the website is a very easy way to get in contact with them. The power is not going out on you at your home or your business. It's boudreauxelectrical.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Up hour #1 here, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's. Every week on Thursday at this time, I'll give you my best win on the board, worst loss on the board in the Southeastern Conference in the NFL. Actually, in college football in the NFL, but I kept it Southeastern Conference for the purposes of this week. I think the best win on the board is LSU. I guess I could reel Clemson in there. If they were able to get that done in Atlanta, that would really cement them as the best team in the Pac-12. But, it's the Pac-12. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's the best team. I was looking at USC on my screen. As the best team in the ACC with Florida State faltering, and we'll see what Miami does. But LSU is in a position here where they can really go a long way toward a playoff spot, I think, in 4 hours on Sunday. Because I think it's reasonable to suggest this is LSU's toughest game away from Tiger Stadium. I don't think at all they go into Kyle Field as a pushover. Quite the opposite. I think that's a tough game for LSU. But USC in Vegas, that's really difficult. If you jump maybe the highest hurdle in the first week, I think that qualifies as maybe best win on the board. And the SEC, worst loss is probably Kentucky at home against Southern Miss as a 28-point favorite. Kentucky had its little 10 minutes in the sun there for a year and a half where they were a 10-win team, and then everybody thought they were pretty good. They had taken down LSU under Ed Ogeron, just dominated them, and they had gotten the Florida monkey off their back, and everybody was kind of feeling good about Kentucky. But this offseason, their coach got on a plane to leave Lexington, and he was going to be the new A&M coach, and then the A&M fans blew a gasket, and then he wasn't the new A&M coach, so now he's back at Kentucky, and they're not really relevant anymore because Texas and Oklahoma are here, and Tennessee's figured it out, which they hadn't for 20 years, and Kentucky's just not all that relevant at this point like they were maybe 3 years ago. I know my guy Hester loves him some Kentucky, but I don't see it. They can't lose as a 28-point favorite at home to Southern Miss, so that's best win, worst loss in the Southeastern Conference. 2 SEC teams are going to open their seasons tonight, both of which will do so as massive favorites. Kentucky. Murray State is at number 11, Missouri. That's a nearly 50-point spread. And Arkansas will host Arkansas Pine Bluff. That game is at War Memorial in Arkansas. Back in the break, you're like, why is Arkansas still playing at War Memorial Stadium? And that's a fair question to ask, Beck, because
it is.
Have you been to War Memorial Stadium?
I haven't, but I've seen some images of it. It doesn't look a whole lot better than Memorial Stadium down the road.
It's not right there. It's not much better than Independence Stadium in Shreveport for those that have been there. It is an absolute dump. I mean, it is pathetic. The bathrooms are tiny. The concession stands are minuscule. There's no room to stand. It looks like an erector set. I've been a couple of times to Arkansas. I went for the Miracle on Markham, unfortunately. I went for the game where Trenton Holiday and Darren McFadden exchanged touchdown runs for touchdowns, exchanged kickoff returns for touchdowns. I can't talk in this segment.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not great. Well, it's not great when you're a talk show host. I actually went to the Ryan Mallett game where he threw for a bunch of yards as well. So that's like 02 or no, 05. That was 06. I think the Miracle on Markham was 02 when I went. So 02, 06, and 10, I think, were the years that I went to Fayetteville, to Little Rock. The ones I've been to, it's terrible. And why do they play there? They play there because a lot of people that are donors live in Little Rock. It's the biggest city, I think, and it's probably the biggest city.
Little Rock is the biggest city in Arkansas.
And so the biggest city in Arkansas, and that's where a lot of their money is, so they appease them. They stopped playing LSU there in the real games, but they'll throw them a bone with Arkansas Pine Bluff, so we'll see. Coach Pittman needs to enjoy tonight because he's not going to get very many wins. He's going to get a huge check very soon, and that's great. He can go to the lake and drink as many cold beers as he wants, get the barbecue pit out, and enjoy that. But he's not going to be coaching football that much longer at Arkansas. He ought to enjoy tonight as they get a win over Arkansas Pine Bluff as 50-point favorites. Murray State, Missouri, you're just not going to learn much of anything about that. My question with Missouri is on defense, and the Murray State Racers, sans Ja Morant, are probably not going to provide much of a challenge to that Missouri defense.
Probably not.
I'll ask Coach McMahon on the way home if I run into him.
Yeah, is he going to catch the game?
That Missouri State team is looking, but I don't think it's going to be great. However, if you do want to watch these games tonight and get some action down and have some fun on a Thursday and celebrate the opening of college football season, highly recommend coming out to LeBair's Baton Rouge in the Sportsbook tonight, actually, at 7 o'clock. I'll be there hanging out, watching games, having some drinks. We're going to give out some ESPN Baton Rouge cups and koozies and whatnot, maybe some shirts and hats if I can wrangle some of those up, and just enjoying the evening at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook over there at LeBair. So if you want somewhere to watch the games, we'll be watching Colorado as they're potentially on upset alert tonight. We'll talk about that in hour number 2. But if you want to come hang out, very much invite y'all out to the ESPN Bet Sportsbook in LeBair's. I will be there. We'll be watching ball and having a great time here on this Thursday, 7 o'clock until I kind of want to go home. I live pretty close to LeBair's at this point, so I'll be able to get home pretty quickly. Very much looking forward to getting out to LeBair's tonight. So highly recommend y'all come on out and see us this evening. That's hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up, talking about this USC offense, some of the playmakers and some of Lincoln Riley's history over the last 10 years calling offenses. Dug deep into that. LSU's going to deploy a prowler front if they can get into some obvious passing situations. Heard from Greg Penn and Harold Perkins in segment number 2. And went into that. You can catch all of that on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. Hunt on LSU is where you can find it. Subscribe to that channel and get all of your LSU football news. Jay Johnson had some sound from yesterday where he met with the media, talked catchers, talked about their plan for the fall, a couple of injury updates as well. So those of you who are LSU baseball junkies that want a little bit of information on the Tigers, you can check that out on demand at 1:30. Anywhere you find your sound, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Hour 2 is very, very busy. Got a couple of guests right off the top. Luke Johnson's going to join us. Austin Deculus has joined the Saints practice squad, which is very, very cool. We'll get Luke's thoughts on the entire 53 plus the practice squad, what he's thought about the last week of the Saints' work after their postseason loss back on Sunday. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, will join us before he heads on up to Las Vegas. So plenty to get to. We're going to pause for Sports Center and get the national headlines when we come back. Hour number 2 on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Back to school savings at Bayou Ford. $12,000 off F-150. $12,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And $10,000 off Expedition. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting Warrior star Steph Curry's agreed on a one-year, $62 million extension. It'll keep him under contract through the 2026-2027 season. He'll become the third NBA player to pass $500 million in career earnings. Colorado is set to kick off its second season under Coach Deion Sanders tonight at home against North Dakota State. Keeping the pressure off quarterback Shedeur Sanders, sacked 52 times last season, is one key for the Buffaloes against the Bison, points out ESPN college football analyst Greg McElroy.
It's going to be up to Deion Sanders and the staff to make sure that his players' skill, speed, talent, acceleration, athleticism, that's what wins in the game. Because if they want to get into an old school throwdown slugfest where it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, you're playing right in North Dakota State's hands. So I think they need to be super careful tonight against a team that's super physical and plays with a chip on their shoulder.
Colorado, North Dakota State, 8 Eastern on ESPN. NFL, Patriots name veteran Jacoby Brissett their starting quarterback. He held off a late surge from rookie Drake May.
Here's one stat that's super simple to remember. Discover automatically doubles the cash back on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cash Back Match. With Discover, you could turn $150 cash back to $300. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We are working towards the weekend. College football to watch tonight, and we are fired up for it. The NFL still about a week and a half away, but that's pretty close. Black and gold to get things underway in the Dome against the Carolina Panthers. Luke Johnson with us every single Thursday via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. He covers the New Orleans Saints for The Advocate. Luke, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure. Some personnel news over the last 24 hours. The Saints added a playmaker, and then we're told they didn't. What happened there with the failed physical?
Yeah, that was like just a bizarre moment from Dennis Allen's press conference. They're like, yeah, so what about your new kick returner? And he was like, we waived him. Failed physical designation. So, it's like, hello, goodbye. Figure something else out. Yeah, just a really weird situation. We didn't see running back Jordan Mims at practice today. And, a lot of us thought maybe he was like cut to make room for this guy. And then someone was like, no, he's actually on the roster. And it feels like there's maybe some weird stuff going on behind the scenes there. As things stand right now, Jordan Mims is on the roster. Kene Nwangwu is not. And they only have one All-Pro returner on their team instead of two.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about that. The other one is a local story here. Is Austin Deculus, former Tiger that played more games than anyone in the history of the uniform, added to the Saints. Can you tell us there?
Yeah, well, I mean, he was cut last year by the Houston Texans and was a really popular player on waivers. I think a couple teams put in waiver claims on him, and the Jets ended up getting him. Then he never played for the Jets, and he didn't make the team out of training camp this year. So I think he's still an interesting player. Obviously, like when you're talking about somebody who has 47 career starts in the SEC, played for obviously a very successful LSU program and won a national title while he was there. There's something there, and he kind of fits their size profile: 6'5", 320 pounds. And they've obviously got some issues to tackle. I mean, I think it's a little bit more interesting than the typical, sign an offensive lineman in the practice squad type of story. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's always good to have another former Tiger on the team.
Cutdown day is always just an absolute blur as the moves just come fast and furious, and y'all were all over it there, reporting as they happened. Was there anything that happened on Cutdown day that really surprised you?
Really surprised? I would say not. I mean, there were some mild surprises, like Jonathan Abram. He was a guy who, at the very first day of training camp, he's a starting safety next to Tyrann Mathieu, and by the end of it, he's not on the active roster. That was a surprise. I think Ugo Amadi is kind of a similar situation where he's a player who gave them flexibility at both safety and nickel if they needed it, and he's also a capable punt returner. So it was a little surprising to see both of those guys released, even though it's like a little less surprising because they're veterans and they don't have to go through waivers, and there could be an agreement beforehand, like, hey, we'll bring you back if you're open to it. And both of them ended up making their way back to the practice squad. I think as far as guys who actually made the 53, the most surprising one to me was Mason Tipton, the undrafted rookie free agent receiver out of Yale. He was awesome for the first 2 weeks of camp, like just blowing by guys, really good deep speed, made consistent plays every day. And then he injured his hamstring, and we never saw him play a single snap in the preseason. So it just felt like if they would have kept him, it would have been a really tough choice based on projection of 2 weeks of training camp. But they did, and they could have, I think, pretty easily cut him and reasonably expected him to clear waivers just because they're the only team that saw. And as much as teams actually read beat writers' reports, which I know to be true, they're not out there like putting in waiver claims on a guy to put on their 53-man roster because some beat writer is like, yeah, this guy looks really good. I think they could have snuck him onto the practice squad if they wanted to, but the fact that they didn't means that maybe they have like a role envisioned for him. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how that one plays out.
It's interesting. They made a trade for defensive tackle John Ridgway. Why, and what can you tell us about him?
Well, I think that one is based purely on the fact that Colin Saunders is dealing with a calf injury, and as we've seen with Nick Saldiveri, sometimes those take time to recover from. And I think there's a very realistic possibility that he misses at least a week, if not more, of the season. So you're talking about like a pick swap, like a late round pick swap. They traded a 6th, they got a player and a 7th back, and they've got a guy who is capable of filling in as a run stuffing player as needed. They're going to have 4 defensive tackles active on game day. 2 of them you can reasonably consider to be Brian Brzee and Nathan Shepard, and then not Colin Saunders, but Christian Boyd, their rookie 6th-round pick out of Northern Iowa. I think has had a pretty impressive camp as like a run stuffer type of player. So they just needed a 4th with Colin Saunders probably being out, and that kind of explains why he's there. And we'll see what he does in the opportunity that he gets.
Now let's throw it basically way back in NFL terms at this point to the preseason game on Sunday. A lot of guys that were making plays in that game are no longer with the Saints. That's just the way that the preseason finale generally goes. But anything that you drew from Sunday's game?
I actually came away from that thinking that there's legitimately a chance that if Derek Carr goes down this year, we'll see Spencer Rattler in there. I think throughout camp, I've just felt like Jake Haener made a lot more sense as a number 2 this year, just because I think he's a smart player. He knows how to play within the offense. You know that like if you're going to put him in there, like he's not going to mess anything up. But I just think that after watching, we've seen Jake for 6 preseason games. I think over 2 years, we've seen Spencer for 3. And I think the potential right now feels a little bit higher for Spencer Rattler. The gameplay just hasn't matched the practice play for Jake Haener, and that's probably a little unfair of me to say, just because it's a completely different situation going into a preseason game and switching out every other quarter, or kind of not knowing exactly when you're going to go in and you're not a starter. It's a different situation than if you're preparing and game planning throughout the week. But I was really impressed with what Spencer Rattler did, and I think I'd feel a lot more comfortable now with him as the number 2 quarterback than I did before Sunday's game against the Titans.
All right, Luke Johnson's our guest from The Advocate, with us every single Thursday on the Jim's Farms Hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at @ByLukeJohnson. I guess kind of last type things before we get into game week next week. Injury concerns for starters that you've seen the last couple of days. Is anybody back to practicing? I mean, how close are they to being healthy for Carolina?
Yeah, well, I think the big news was that Marshawn Lattimore, it's like as soon as training camp ends, he's back out there on the practice field. Make of that what you want to make. But Good that he's back out there, right? He missed most, if not all, of training camp. I mean, he was only out there for like 4 or 5 practices. So that's good. Rashid Shaheed was back out there, also good. I think when you're looking at starting caliber players, players who the team was definitely going to be counting on to play a lot of snaps for him. I think the only one who you really considering as a possibility of missing week 1 is Colin Saunders. And that's good. I mean, this team dealt with like a lot of weird soft tissue injuries throughout camp. I mean, there's moments and I was like writing up the practice reports. I'm like, there's 20 players who aren't here.
Yeah.
I think they're in a good spot health wise before the start of the season. And if Colin Saunders is the player you're missing, I mean, like you're going to miss him, but like, you'd much rather be missing him than somebody like Shaheed or Lattimore.
The Tigers going to get it done on Sunday?
Come on, man. Of course they are. I'm all aboard the nuts bus, man. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't feel as confidently as I did about him as I did Jaden going into last season, but I feel pretty good about it. And I think just judging off of what my group text of your and I's old college buddies say, they're very excited to see a defense that's not coordinated by Matt House. So we'll see what happens. I'm feeling good about it though.
Ginn will find a way to pout anyway, so we'll just that's
Come on.
that's inevitable.
He's going to send you some really questionable text messages. That's all.
All right, man. Enjoy your last Sunday off for a while, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good, man. See you soon.
He's Luke Johnson from the Advocate, old Reveille buddy of mine, and still involved in the group text with a lot of the guys that we were pinning stories for. I believe we were making $20 a pop, maybe $15 a pop.
20.
I think it was $15 a pop.
Wow, that's not
back in the
bad.
day. No, I mean, look, you're going to take what you can get. I was writing those tennis stories, filing them in on Sundays, and collecting those $10 checks when they came in, baby.
What all sports did you cover?
I covered tennis and golf.
That's it?
That's it. I was
Really?
only on the staff for 1 year. It was only my last year.
I gotcha.
And,
why'd you only do 1 year?
Because I wasn't in journalism until I only had 2 years left, and I finally just dove in. It actually set everything in motion, honestly. I started writing for the Reveille. Shea Dixon was at Scout. He emailed the sports editor of the Reveille. He said, is anybody interested in doing this for me? And I was like, I'll do it. And so I went and had a beer with Shea at Chimes. I started doing stuff when I was in school for Shea. And I met Derek while I was on the beat, and I got hired by Derek. And then I started coming on Matt's show, and that's how the whole thing goes. So kids, just take an opportunity when it's given to you early on.
The Reveille's got some hitters, man. My Reveille class has got a lot of big names. I mean, Kennedy Landry was my sports editor.
Yeah, she's in a fantasy baseball league with me.
Yeah, she, of course, is covering the Rangers for MLB. I mean, Glenn West,
My guy
comes on our show. Got a lot of guys out there, man. We're crushing it.
Just crushing the game. The Reveille class of
2020. Well, actually, we weren't all the same year. Kennedy was a year or two before me. I think Glenn also maybe a year before me. But yeah, we're all kids out here.
God. All right, let's come back and talk to Chris Blair. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got to make LeBear's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. They got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet, the sports book, in person. I'm going to give you a sign-up code for their Cover 5. You got to download the Pin Play app. You got to download the Cover 5 app. I've done both, and we've got a cool season-long pick'em contest that's going, and you can win cash for playing, but you've got to get this code to play it properly. So download ESPN Bet. You got to download Pin Play. Download the Cover 5 app, and then you can enter the code LABR SEC24. That's LABR SEC24. You can pick every SEC game that week. You can play against your friends, enter to win weekly and season-long prizes. If you're not a member, get that Pin Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Got to be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Rouse's. Really looking forward to getting out to the Bears tonight. Hope y'all can join us out there at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. We're watching some Missouri football, some Arkansas football, some Colorado football. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Of course, LSU and USC starting their seasons in Las Vegas coming up on Sunday. Kickoff is at 6:30 Central Time. It'll be 4:30 out west. That means at 1:30 we'll start our coverage here at Guarantee Media, Eagle 98.1 Game Day. At 1:30 will be from out in Las Vegas. Then they'll go for 3 hours at 4:30 Central Time. It'll be myself, Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite with you on the LSU Sports Radio Network for pregame show. We'll lead you up to 30 minutes to kickoff. It'll be Chris Blair, Gordy Rush, and Jacob Hester on the call from Allegiant Stadium. 30 minutes after the game goes final, you can catch the post-game show on the LSU Sports Radio Network. I will be there for an hour with Brandon Taylor and Marlon Favorite, reacting to the ball game, taking your interaction on Twitter. And then 90 minutes after the game goes final, it'll be Charles Handegriff and Richard Dixon. I actually don't know if Richard Dixon's doing it this year. I know he's doing it this year. I don't know if he's doing it this week with Charles Handegriff. I would guess yes, he'll be back in studio and they'll get Charlie hooked up. But maybe it'll just be Charlie out there on post-game from Las Vegas. Whiskey and Wine will also air out from Vegas. T-Bob and Matt will get you fired up on the internet as that one goes final. So with that stage set, we'll talk to Chris Blair if we can hopefully hook up with him here shortly. I do want to potentially no, I think Chris is about to call us right now, so we're going to jump on with him. I do want to talk about Colorado tonight because everybody's kind of starting to look at that game, and you can look at it as a little bit of a trap spot for the Buffaloes, and I'll kind of pick Beck's brain on that coming up here in a couple of minutes. But we do want to chat with Chris Blair, who has about to head out to Las Vegas here. I believe they're headed out on Saturday. Get ready for the broadcast from Allegiant Stadium, and our guy Jacob Hester is going to join us on the color commentary for the broadcast coming up on Sunday. I know Jacob's done it previously. He did it out at the Rose Bowl when LSU played UCLA. That didn't go so well, so we're going to hope that Hester has the ability to do a little bit better for our guys in purple and gold coming up on Sunday, but excited for Jacob to get that opportunity in the booth with Chris Blair. I know they'll do an awesome job with the call. You can locally here, if you're in Baton Rouge, check it out on Eagle 98.1. Check the LSU Sports Radio Network's affiliate in your area. Chris Blair now joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, man. Can we get to Sunday already and kick this thing off?
It's crawling a little bit. It's crawling just a little bit. Are y'all bags packed, ready to head to the desert?
Not quite yet. Not packed yet, but trying to make sure everything is ready to go for Sunday. And that's the toughest part for my job. Week one, getting ready for week one is by far the toughest week. Everything else kind of gets in place after that. So once I get everything ready for Sunday night, then, yeah, I'll go pack a bag. And I only plan on being in Vegas for, 30-some hours? I'm going to be there long. I'll be flying in with the team and flying back out.
Are you anti-Vegas? You seem like you might be anti-Vegas.
Not anti-Vegas. Great town. I got good friends there. I don't do what most people do in Vegas. It's the one vice I don't have, which I don't gamble of any kind. But which again, it's not a moral thing. It's just something I don't do. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff to do there. But I don't know that I would pick late August to go. When it's 105.
I went in July, and the golf course got to me a little bit after staying up way too late. So I understand it's quite warm out there. You've done some games now in these new stadiums. Not that anyone's super interested in your sight lines and how the broadcast booth is, but do they take care in these new stadiums, or do you find that they kind of stick you in a corner?
No, they stick you in the corner.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of what they do. You got to have the club level and the VIP, and when you get to the NFL, you got to have the nightclub and the dance club and everything else that's going on besides the football game. So yeah, they put us down about the 20s and 15-yard line.
I know yesterday we got the announcement that Doug Morrow is going to step aside for this season. We were all saddened by that, and obviously thinking about Doug as he recovers from that surgery. I know you've worked with him a lot, and you've worked with Jacob obviously in the past as well. Your thoughts on that, and Jacob joining you and Doug stepping aside for the season?
Yeah, it was big news. We found out this past Monday, which nobody planned that. That's just the way these things work sometimes. It's how health goes. You never know. So, we had to quickly move, and, thank goodness we're at a place like LSU that, again, you have a number of guys who are part of this LSU family. Jacob had done it before. We got the news Monday morning that we were going to have to fill that void. And thankfully, another busy dude, you know how busy Jacob is, that he was able to carve this out. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, he loves LSU and he loves LSU football, but I do appreciate him doing that. When it comes to Doug, I mean, obviously he's been doing games in one capacity or another, radio or television, in both since like 1972. And even though, and to give you some perspective, my birthday is Saturday, in case anybody didn't know that. But that's 2 years before I was born. So that tells you how long he's been associated. Not to mention the fact that he was a pretty good player for LSU and had a successful career. So not to mention his legal career and the pillar of the community that he is. So Doug is, in my opinion, is one of those great human beings that everybody should have the opportunity to know. And if you're lucky, you get to work with him. And so we're all just hoping he's got a speedy recovery, gets back in the booth as soon as possible, and we'll go from there. But certainly going to miss him.
No question about that. We'll miss him on the network. All right, let's talk a little bit of football here, because that's what we're getting ready to do on Sunday. LSU's got a lot to make up for on the offensive end. They were pretty fun to watch last year with those three guys leading the charge. How do you feel about this version of the Tiger offense?
Well, I think that it's going to be different, but I think it has the potential to be, as explosive. And I've really paid attention to the words that Brian Kelly uses, because I'm sure you figured out, as all LSU fans have, pretty smart guy, and he's pretty selective on how he phrases and how he says things. And if you remember last year, when Jaden Daniels really came into his own, and each week he was making dynamic plays on the ground and through the air and just amazing everybody, the words that the coaching staff talked about was our explosive offense, we can score from any given moment, any given down, first, from the 80, from the 85 yards, 80 yards. Going into spring ball and then listening through media days and also through fall camp, it's a lot of, we're going to run the football and we're going to take our shots downfield. Now, that may not sound like a major difference, but to me, I'm expecting it to be a major difference because, again, you've got a quarterback with a different skill set, but you also have 3 good running backs, 3 that I have a lot of confidence in, and you might have one of the most talented, if not the most talented, offensive line. So I get a sense that this offense is going to look different, but I don't know that that means they can't be as efficient. I just think they're going to be dedicated to attacking, on the ground. And again, try to draw people into the box, crowd that line of scrimmage, and then let, Garrett do what he does best, which is unload the football to a talented group of receivers. So, again, what's explosive versus what's not explosive, but I still think they have the ability to put a lot of points on the board. They maybe not strike as fast, but I'm okay with a ball control offense that keeps picking up first downs, keeps marching down the field, keeps the other team's offense on the sideline, and puts points on the board.
Will Campbell didn't mince his words on Tuesday. He said, we're going to run the ball. We're not trying to hide that. You can put that out there if you want. We're going to run the ball. So I think they're going to run the ball. What do you think about the running backs that this team's going to take to the field on Sunday?
I know that Coach Kelly, I'm going to ask him tonight on the show, and it's the very same question I asked him a year ago when we were trying to kind of discern who would be the back. And he said, hey, as we sit here a couple of days from the opener, we don't have that guy that has separated itself from the rest of the group. But we've got a really good group of talented running backs. I'll be interested to see if there's any different answer tonight, because I really think early on, depending on down and distance and situation and time of game, all that stuff, I think you can utilize all 3 of the backs with Caleb, Josh, and obviously John. And I think we'll see a lot of them early. Now, does that mean that a couple of weeks down the road, one of them doesn't kind of take the bull by the horns? Maybe so. But I think they'll run by committee early. And we'll see them in different situations, short yardage situations, pass pro. And I'm interested to see all 3 because, I'd love to see John Emery have the final breakout year. Caleb Jackson is going to be special. He already is special. And Josh Williams is one of my favorite college football players of all time. So I'm rooting for all 3.
Defense, we know, has got a lot of changes in the system, in the coaching staff, and what's going to be out there on the field. What do you think the emphasis is for Blake Baker and his unit as they try to overhaul what was a unit that didn't get it done last year?
Yeah, there's no question. They struggled last year. There were busts. There were missed assignments. It seemed at times there was confusion. But, I used to listen after the games to you and Brandon and Marlon on the network. And those 2 guys, if you remember, Hunt, would talk about, the cornerbacks made a mistake or they were out of position. But on this particular play, there was absolutely no rush at the line of scrimmage. There was no pressure in the backfield. And this ex-quarterback had 8-9 seconds in the pocket to find a receiver. That's putting a lot of pressure on any defensive secondary. So I think they're going to try to find the right balance where they're still trying to bring that DBU back to its glory, but they could get some help complementary with more of a pass rush. And I thought really that wasn't a strong suit for LSU last year. And again, not trying to make excuses for the secondary, but I just didn't think either was on the same page. And I think, with Coach Baker, just watching some of the practice, he kind of brought a crew for the returning defenders that didn't have a whole lot to strut about, after last year. But going over and watching some of fall camp, there's a little bit of swagger there. And I think that comes from Coach Baker, and he's an attacking style defender. And I just thought at times over the last 2 years, we were more of a let's don't get beat than let's take the fight to them. I think that's going to be different. I really think so. And I think the success of this defense will be if the guys up front can allow Harold and Greg to make some plays and speed up the offense and speed up the opposing quarterback and doesn't put all of the corners and safeties on an island downfield.
You fired up the Hearing Voices podcast, spoke with the USC play-by-play voice. How do they feel about their team entering the season?
It's like 2 teams looking in the mirror.
Yep.
Last year they had no problem scoring points. They struggled in the final 6 games of the season. They were able to eke out a win over Louisville in the Holiday Bowl when both Louisville and USC didn't have their main guys. A lot of them had opted out. So I don't know how much you can glean from that game. But they struggled down the stretch. And, again, it was all about defense. No problem with offense. And I think for this year, if history proves right, Lincoln Riley for the 7 years he's been a head coach, has been top 8 in the country in offense. So I don't think that's going to change. I don't know if they'll put as many points on the board as they did with Caleb Williams, but I think they'll score. But they're very concerned. They think this is a huge game for USC because, in the Pac-12, you could win a lot of games if he outscored people. It's going to be different now that they're stepping into the Big Ten, where there's a number of schools who build their program on defense. So they'll get a test. I think it comes down to which defense has taken steps further the quickest for game number 1.
Tell us about the coaches show tonight, where they can hear it and where they can come.
Yeah, they can come to TJ Ribs. We'll start at 7 o'clock. Coach will be there. We'll kind of do a quick recap from January all the way up to, fall camp. And then we'll start breaking down some of the position groups, some of the guys that we can expect to see, probably get an idea of the 2 deep, at least going into the game on Sunday, and then get a scouting report on what he sees from this year's Trojans and what he knows about them. So you can listen right there on the flagship, Eagle 98.1, LSU Sports mobile app presented by BASF. Depending on where you are, you can take us with you and tune in. And, you can catch the podcast at LSU Plus or anywhere you get your podcast.
That's about it. We'll see you all tonight up at TJ Ribs. Safe travels up to Vegas, Chris. Thanks.
Think I got all my plugs in. Thank you, hon.
It's Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. He'll be leaving on a jet plane, I guess, on his birthday coming up on Saturday. All right, when we come back, we'll start talking some college football for tonight. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Here from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio on a Thursday, Hunt Palmer Show presented by Rouse's Markets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Watching the Tigers this weekend, make sure to get on by Rouse's for all your game day watching goodies. I'll be there tomorrow, 3 to 5, Burbank and Lee, because T-Bob is going to Vegas. So he'll be at the pool. I'll be at Rouse's. You tell me who's getting the better end of that deal. Look, that's for you to decide. I'm going to have a great time at Rouse's. Beck, look, you had something to say there.
I would take Rouse's. Huh?
Here's the deal.
Obviously.
Here's the deal. Rouse's more convenient than going to Vegas.
Yep.
2, cheaper drinks at Rouse's than
Absolutely.
Vegas. So
100%.
basically,
Food,
everything's cheaper. So basically, you tell me who's winning.
I really think I think you are, Hunt. You're the real winner here.
All right. Let's talk about the games that are going to go on tonight. Beck, I'm going to read you the games that are playing tonight.
All right.
You tell me if they pique your interest in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
The first game is at 5 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. It's Howard against Rutgers.
No.
No chance. I'm glad you said that because I would think you were going to try to dig something up. There's nothing there, even though people still think Rutgers is good this year.
They do.
I'll react to that in November if I need to. I'm certainly not going to do it in August. Western Carolina at NC State.
NC State are ranked. I see that.
They are?
But they are 32-point favorites, so not much to see there, I think.
Western Carolina's mascot, name it.
I don't know.
The Catamounts.
Oh, good one.
I believe that was Nick Saban's first opponent and also the first, maybe not his first opponent, maybe his first opponent. And they had the new upper deck for that game. And I think I watched Western Carolina play LSU from the brand new upper deck that would have been on the east side, west side. I don't know.
I never get those.
Too old now.
Directions, right.
Wake Forest against North Carolina A&T.
I don't think so. Not interested.
The Gus Bus, KJ Jefferson, UCF playing New Hampshire.
No.
All right, Jackson State and UL Monroe. There's some local flavor, baby.
Yeah, apparently
the Warhawks and the Tigers.
Yeah, I was seeing somewhere that UL Monroe. I saw like a ranking of all the college football teams, all on FBS, and they were near the bottom.
They're a 5.5 point favorite against Jackson State.
Not great.
Yeah.
And Jackson State doesn't have Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders anymore.
Aren't there either. No, it's not the case. Lafayette's playing Buffalo.
No,
not the Bills, not Josh Allen.
Nope,
not the Fordham and Bowling Green.
Hey, I like me some action, but that's not action. That's just Bowling Green playing Fordham.
Yeah,
so
it's not great. Central Connecticut, who LSU played in baseball here a couple of
They
years
did.
ago, been a regional team, playing
Central
the Chippewas of Central Michigan.
The former Brian Kelly's. No.
Who's the head coach now?
Isn't that Jim McElwain?
That is correct. Jim McElwain is the head coach there. We already talked about Arkansas Pine Bluff and Arkansas. I'm going to watch Taylon Green just to see if he throws 8 picks like he did in the scrimmage.
He's gonna obviously go out there and throw 4 touchdowns.
I mean, I think he is. I will be candid. I'm not supposed to give you my picks for the Cover 5 promotion over there at the at Penn Play because we're trying to compete here, and I don't want you to beat me. But I've got Arkansas covering the 50 points. I think
that's a lot.
Bobby Petrino's going to call some plays. Arkansas Pine Bluff's not going to score any points. And I think Sam Pittman's going to try to build up some goodwill here. I can see this easily going 59-0. I can easily see it going 59-10. 59-10, I don't get home. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't get home. That's only 49. So they're going to have to shut them out. But that's doable. Duquesne, the Dukes, they're playing Toledo at the Glass Bowl.
I like the Rockets, man. That they're always really good. That's I'm definitely not going to watch that game, but they could be a potential MAC champions this year. So
Murray State and Mizzou, we talked about. We'll see how much Brady Cook and Luther Burden play. Lindenwood's at Kansas.
I've never heard of Lindenwood before.
I think I've heard of them, but I can't tell you much about them. I couldn't even give you a geographic region of the country that they hail from, and I certainly couldn't give you their mascot either. But I'm about to because I'm clicking on it. This is going to go on Plucker Sports Trivia next Tuesday.
There you go.
See, they're alliterative. The Lindenwood Lions.
Good stuff.
They're in the Big South / OVC. Is that possible? Can you be in 2 conferences?
Maybe in different sports. I don't know.
That's probably true, too. North Carolina and Minnesota is actual real football.
It is.
From Minnesota. That's from Huntington Bank Stadium up there in Minneapolis. No Drake May.
They do have a former LSU Tiger,
They do. They have Max Johnson, and he'll be taking snaps, and Minnesota's going to row the boat. So what do you have? Do you have the Tiger turned Aggie turned Tar Heel, or you have row the boat?
I like the Golden Gophers at home. They're a 2-point underdog there. I don't know much about Minnesota. I know that
Is PJ Fleck going to wear a tie?
He will, I'm sure. But I'll take Minnesota at home. That's a toss-up.
He was the flavor of the week in college football.
For a while
what was that, 5 years ago? And now, you take the Minnesota job, you just fade into oblivion.
Pretty much.
What are you going to do there? You're gonna go 7-5 every year, probably. It's just the way it's going to go. Got to be selective about the jobs you take. And I realize that that's a better job than Western Michigan or wherever he was. But
it was Western Michigan, I think.
I think it was, and that's a big payday. But I don't know that you're going to progress a lot at Minnesota. Here's the only one I really want to talk about on the slate. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
You don't want to talk about Southeastern Tulane, Hunt?
I don't think so. It's a
in-state rivalry there.
27-point number there at Ullman. So enjoy the cold pops uptown, folks. But I'm not going to talk too much about that football game. North Dakota State and Colorado. I mean, do you have a rooting interest in that game?
I do, because at this point, I think along with a lot of people, I just want to see Deion fail. I hate to say that, but it's just the way. Like we talked about it yesterday, the quote was just the quote he said about
he's in fantasy land.
Yeah. It's just shocking to me.
I don't know that I want Deion to fail. I don't know that that's where I am. I'm 100% in line with that he will fail.
Yes,
but I do like him around. I think he's interesting.
It's definitely talking about. People are talking about him.
He's going too far. Over the spectrum, and he's just lost touch with reality, quite frankly.
Yep.
And the what I keep saying about Colorado is that he's got a top 5 NFL draft pick at quarterback on this team. If they don't play well this year, when is he going to get a better quarterback? Because he certainly didn't recruit Shedeur. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
He produced Shedeur. So who's next? And if you can't win with the guy that's going to go in the top 5 pick in the draft, are you going to win with the guy that it's not? I just don't see a path for Colorado getting a lot better.
I don't either.
That said, everybody's going to be on North Dakota State, I feel tonight. Everybody's going to be on it. It's a 10.5-point number. Give me the Buffs. Give me Colorado all day. They got better players. They're a better team. I think they'll win comfortably because everybody's on the other side.
Everybody is, and I think it's, there's part of it is obviously just all the Deion stuff, and people just, I think a lot of people do want to see him fail. And the other part of it, of course, is North Dakota State has such a reputation that they've gained for the last 15 years being probably the best team in FCS. However, they have not been as good the last few years. They've still been a really good team. They lost 4 games last year. They hadn't lost more than, I think, 2 or 3 before that since 2010. They were an unstoppable train
Are you
before the last
telling me the
few years.
Bison dynasty is over?
I think it might be. I just went and did a little bit of research on them. They have a new coach. Their coach they had before this season left. He left to go to UCLA, I think, or USC. Maybe USC. Yeah. So and he had some success, but not as much as they had before that. So I'm not. I like North Dakota State. I think they're still going to be good. I think this game is still going to be close. But I do think Colorado will probably win by 2 touchdowns, unfortunately.
I do as well. And so we will certainly be watching that one at ESPN Bet because that's on ESPN. So I'm fired up to watch a little bit of that one tonight from the sportsbook there at LeBerge. Coastal Carolina plays Jacksonville State. Name the best golfer in Coastal Carolina history.
Shoot. I know, but I can't.
Former world number 1 who's on LIV.
What? Oh, gosh. It's not Dustin Johnson.
It is Dustin Johnson. He went to Coastal Carolina.
Oh, my God.
And who's the head coach at Jacksonville State?
I forgot. I know, but
former Big East and Big Ten head coach.
Yeah. I can't. I know it, but I don't.
Rich Rodriguez is the head coach at Jacksonville State.
Yep.
Name the former LSU quarterback who played football at Jacksonville State.
Was it Perilou?
Ryan Perilou ended up at Jacksonville State. UAB's playing Alcorn State. Tulane's hosting Southeastern. Tulsa is hosting Northwestern State.
Demons.
The Demons forking them up there in Tulsa. Southern Utah is at Utah. So I cannot believe Cam Rising is still playing quarterback.
He is shocking.
26 years old.
There is
26.
He is. There's a few other guys. Like I remember I told you off air. Alan Bowman, guy used to be at Texas Tech. He's now at Oklahoma State. He's in his 7th year, I think.
I mean, good on him. Having a job and going to work is not that awesome.
No, it's not. Stay in college as long as you can.
Hang out in college and play football. I'm all for it. some people are like Cassie and they're in college and they have a job, so can't win them all. But just stay in college, just play football. That's good. Eastern Illinois is at Illinois, and then Sacramento State is at San Jose. That is the spread for this evening. Get yourself fired up and watch some college football tonight. We'll come back and close out this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy, EvolvePT.com. They are on Starring right there near Highland Roads, right by Johnny's, Sammy's, that location. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. You can't miss it right there. Robbie Bolton has been doing this for about 20 years. He is the man to go see. If you are hurt, you are hurting, and you can't be your active self. If that's the case for you, then go to Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. No matter what the injury is, no matter what the pain is, no matter how you got into that pain, a car accident, slept wrong, hurt playing sports, whatever the case may be, they can get you back to being your active self at Evolve Physical Therapy. So many times, Robbie hears stories about folks that have gone in for physical therapy and have kind of been handed a list of exercises and said, we'll see you next week. And that's just not the way to rehab. The way to rehab is to have a hands-on physical therapist there, making sure you're improving each and every session. And that's what they're going to do for you at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. Whether you're 9, 68, whatever the case may be, if you're trying to get back to being your active self, go to physical therapy at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. You can check them out online, EvolvePT.com. Stop by on Starring near Highland. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, EvolvePT.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Congratulations to our 2024 Ultimate Tailgate Contest winner, Annette Chauvin of Baton Rouge. Annette wins a $500 Alumni Hall gift card. Thank you to all who participated in the 2024 Ultimate Tailgate Contest presented by Citizens Bank and Trust. And Rev is delivering our coverage live from Las Vegas starting tomorrow with Off the Bench and After Further Review, and continuing Sunday, September 1st with Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Our coverage is also presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Watch us live on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Kick off the 2024 LSU football season live from Las Vegas with Rev and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, wrapping things up here, a little housekeeping. Of course, our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Get on by, do your grocery shopping at Rouse's wherever you are in South Louisiana. I will be at ESPN Bet tonight. So you say, well, where's ESPN Bet? Well, that's the new brand of the sportsbook in LeBairs. Be there starting at 7 o'clock. We'll be watching a lot of football there from the sportsbook. Come on by, say hey, grab a cup, hat, koozie, a shirt, whatever the case may be. Let's watch some sports and hang out at LeBairs this evening. I'm very much looking forward to getting out there. And we invite you to play alongside me in the Cover 5 SEC contest. If you go to the Cover 5 app, download it, enter the code LABRSEC24. If you do that, you're going to be entered in to the league that I'm in. You can make your picks every single week, and we'll have some bragging rights, and there's some money on the line for winners. So go ahead and do that. It dawns on me that I'm picking all the SEC games against the spread like I did last year. I went like right at 500 last year, and I want to do that, and there's 2 tonight. So I got to put my official picks on the line tonight for these 2 games back. As I told you, give me Arkansas to cover the 50.5.
That's a lot.
They may have to score 70, and they may score 70 because
Arkansas
Pine Bluff.
Yeah, and Sam Pittman. I remember when Brett Bielema was at Arkansas, and he was in his last year, and he scored like 80 on some team. It's like they're trying to prove a point or something like that.
Give me the Hogs, and I will take 49.5 is the number on Missouri and Murray State. Give me Missouri to cover that too. I'll lay all the points tonight in the SEC games. All right, take it or leave it.
All righty, first one here. Dylan Cruz hit his first career home run in the majors yesterday. Also got an RBI double as well in there. Not very sharply hit ball there in a 5-2 win over the Yanks. The first of 400. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. He's not going to hit 400 home runs.
What was it 300 or 400? I couldn't remember.
300
okay.
is the number
so
I
then
gave.
300. How about 300?
Yeah, I'm going to take that. I think I'll take it. That's a long way to go, but he's got to have Anthony Rizzo's career basically.
He does.
He's got to hit 25 or 30 a lot.
Yep.
And that's you got to play for 12, 14, 15, 16 years, which is really hard to do. But he's a really good player. He's a really good hitter, and he's off to a damn good start there in Washington. So we're all fired up for Dylan for sure.
Absolutely. Moving on here, Shohei Ohtani's dog Decoy threw the first pitch last night for the Dodgers home game against the Orioles. This video of it. He had the dog on the mound and the ball in his mouth, and he basically just ran up to Shohei and gave him the ball. So dogs throwing first pitches. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. Don't
need
it.
Come on, hon. It was cute. Did you not see the video?
I like the dogs to go pick up the kickoff tees. That was
great.
That's
cool.
They outlawed that, I think.
No, I think Lane Kiffin's dog still does that.
Juice does it?
I think Juice does it.
Juice got hurt. He had a big injury.
Yeah.
He got sliced with a knife recently.
Yeah.
Hate to see that for Juice, but I think he's day-to-day to return. I don't need dogs walking up there with the baseball in their mouth. What is this, Air Bud? No, I don't need that. We don't need it.
It was cute, hon. You got to see the video.
Let's get some humans throwing out the first pitch. If you give me a dog that can project the ball forward with his mouth, then that's cool first pitch. I don't need a dog walking to home plate with the ball.
All right, last one. Speaking of availability, the SEC are going to require schools to post public availability reports in football, basketball, and baseball. Schools must submit availability reports 3 days before each football game with daily updates leading to a final report 90 minutes prior to game time. For basketball and baseball, reports are filed the night before the game with an update on game day. Players are designated as available, probable, questionable, doubtful, or out before game day, and available, game time decision, or out on game day. Penalties for inaccurate or late reports range from $25,000 to $100,000 for football and $15,000 to $25,000 for basketball and baseball. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It's fine.
I'll take it.
All I can think about is Jay Johnson.
Yes.
That's all I can think about here because he's had multiple pitchers go down with season-ending injuries and not tell anybody about it for like a month.
Yep.
So we didn't know anything about some of these guys for a month. And so I think questionable. He's just going to question
everybody.
Everybody's questionable.
Well, remember Bill Belichick used to do that. He put like everybody as doubtful, and they had to get rid of doubtful because he just used it for every player.
I think Jay's just going full steam ahead questionable. How are you going to find me for saying he was questionable? Everybody's questionable. They could play, they couldn't play. That's what I think that you're going to get from Jay. They're trying to to make sure things are between the straight and narrow for betting purposes. I don't think Jay cares about betting purposes, and
No,
he's not going to tell
not
anybody
much.
anything. So that's what I think is going to happen there. All right, that's it for us on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. Open the show talking about this USC offense, talked about LSU's prowler front. I wrote a story on that at LouisianaPorts.net as well. Jay Johnson sound at 1:30. Best win and worst loss on the board, plus some thoughts on Missouri and Arkansas. Luke Johnson and Chris Blair joined us in hour number 2. Luke on the Saints. You can find that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. All right, I'll be at LeBare's tonight. I'll be back here for Football Friday tomorrow. Matt's going to drive you home most of the way from the airport. Musso as well. You'll have a great Thursday. Enjoy some football. We're back tomorrow on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carboner's team, fantastic people. I know a lot of you don't do a lot of Google reviews on insurance brokers. That's standard because you usually don't get into that situation. Jonathan Carver and his team at Highland Insurance Group have over 100 Google reviews at how great their customer service is. I know that we don't love talking about insurance, but it's something you've got to handle. You got to handle it properly, and you ought to have someone on your team that can advocate for you in the marketplace, that has access to the markets that you need, and understands how to protect your business. Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group can do that. So if your renewal's coming up here in the next couple of months and you're not sure what you're looking at, give my friends at Highland Insurance Group a call or check them out online. They're online at HighlandIG.com. It's Jonathan Carver and his team right here in the capital city of Baton Rouge. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson